Hello learners, welcome to the Python course. In this video, we are going to learn about new concept called as classes and objects. So it's a new concept. Now we can start with the object-oriented concept in Python. So in object-oriented concept, we are going to do the first topic. We are going to discuss about the first topic, that's class and object. Now we can say what's mean by this class and object, right? So I already wrote some definitions here, right? Right. So you can think of a class as a piece of code that specify the data and behavior. Now you can say that a class is a blueprint. I can say blueprint, and object is one instance of the class. Okay, so I can say one, or I can say one part of the class. Okay, so you can think like that. To understand this, so we are going to give an example. Say you can consider a class is like a blueprint of a house. That means to build prior to building a particular house, we are going to prepare the blueprint. That means, so I can say how the house should be look like, right? So where to place the columns, right? So based on that, we are preparing one blueprint. So based on the blueprint, we are going to build a particular house, right? So in this case, or now I can say this building, or I can say the blueprint, or I can say your design, right? So your design. Now design is it's like class, right? So once the design is ready, you can create n number of house of the same type, right? So I can create n number of house of the same type. So now all the buildings which are going to build with the help of the same blueprint, now it's called as object. Okay, they are called as object. Now right. So so that definition is written here. You can use the blueprint to create several houses, right? So you can with the help of same blueprint, we can create several or some more any number of houses, right? Now what mean by this instance, right? So now each instance, now for each house, we can change some properties of house, right? So for example, now one house has some color, so you can add the different color for the second house, right? So in the same way, so design, right? So we are using interior design. Now interior design of the each house may be different for one house to the another house, but basic structure of every house will be the same because we use the same blueprint. Right. So when I say the object, now object is one, I can say instance of the class, and this object can have data and behavior. We are saying this data means some properties, right? So attributes or properties. We can say properties. That means, so what is the color of the house, right? I can say who is the owner of the house, right? So these are the some properties, okay, which can be changed from one house to the another house, right? So in the same way, second property, or I can say second point. Now each class has some behaviors. Behaviors means they are the functionalities, right? Functionality we can add to that particular class. Okay. Now the this functionality may be like we can say in the house how to uh, door opening system, how the door opening system works, right? So how the window closing system will work. So, okay, so now these are the some functionality we can add to a particular house, right? So when I say a class is an object, now class contains both or I can both data and behavior, or I can say attributes or properties and functionalities. Okay, it contains properties and functionalities. In the programming language, we are saying that is data and behaviors. Okay, right. Now, in Python, how to create a class, right? So we can create a class with the help of class keyword. So we are writing out class. Then I have to write a name of the class. Okay, say I'll write like house class. Okay, right. So then ends with the colon, right? So enter. Now I can say just say pass. Okay, now this is the one definition. Okay, while creating a class, you have to write the class name and you have to write the class keyword and class name ends with the colon. Now, object is one instance of the class, right? So how to create object, right? I'll write creating the object, creating instance. Okay. Right. Now, how to create an instance? First, you have to use one name. So I can say H1 house. Okay, H1 house, house one. So now have to use this notation, right? House. Now, how to create an instance? Now you have to use the class name and open and close parentheses. Okay. So now it has some meaning. So we'll see in the later classes what the meaning of this. Now H1 is one object of the house class. Right. So in the same way, I can create one more object. So H2 is equal to. Okay, now it's a one more object. In the same way, you can create any number of objects. Right. Now how to add attributes to this particular class? Right. So I can say H1 with the help of dot operator, we can add right. H1 dot, I'll say color. Okay, house color, right? So equal to some red color. Okay. In the same way, I can add one more property, right? H1 dot, so owner. Okay. So I'll write owner name. Okay, so I'll write some owner name, ABC owner name. Okay, owner name will be ABC, right? Now this is the two properties of I can say H1 class, right? H1 house. Now, if I want for the house 2, we can write H2 dot, right? I can say H2 dot color, right? So color. Okay, so it's got to blue. In the same way, I can write H2 dot. Okay, some owner. Okay, some owner, right? So now I'm going to initialize all the variables. Okay, or I can say attributes of a particular class. Now, how to print whether it is told or not, right? So you can use the print statement saying h1 dot color. Now this will print the, it will print only the color of house one. Okay, so you can see, you can run the program and see that. Right, so you'll get the answer as red. Right, in the same way, if I write one more statement print, okay, so I can say h2 dot color, and I'll get the answer as blue. Right, so we'll get the answer as blue. Now, these are the how can we add the attributes to the particular class, right? Suppose we have more than, or I can say more than 10 parameters or say large number of parameters. Now it's very difficult me to add the variables in like this format. Like this, it means for each variable I have to create a, for each type I have to create a variable and I have to store the values, right? So instead of doing this or activities, we can do one more thing called as constructor, right? So creating a constructor inside a class. Now we can directly initialize the values, okay, inside a particular class, okay, while creating the object, right? Now how to do that? So we'll, instead of writing pass, we're going to create a constructor, right? That constructor in Python, we are going to use a constructor as init method, right? So we'll use that. So def define, we have double underscore init, right? So when I write double underscore init, now this is called as constructor in Python, right? So when I write double underscore init, my default will get a self parameter. Now it's a by default argument. Okay, so this is the one thing you must pass to a particular class. After that, we can use like what are the argument I'm going to pass to this particular constructor. It's similar to your functions, right? So first I'll write color and owner name, right? So I can mention the type also. I can say color is equal to str. It may be string class. In the same way, I'll say owner. Now it's also str. Now, okay, now I can use. After that, so we are using this self dot color is equal to color, self dot owner is equal to owner. Now, what is the meaning of this? Now, when I write anything with the self keyword, now this belongs to, now it always says this the belongs to the instance or it belongs to the particular object. When I write self dot color, now color is one variable belongs to the house class. The instance attribute of a color. You can see here, instance attribute of a particular color of house. Okay, now it belongs to the house class. When I click on this color, so you'll get parameter color of init, that you'll get init parameter. That means now this color is a local variable, okay? So which is used to initialize, which is used to, or I can say initialize this class attribute, okay? Or I can say its instance variable. Okay, so when you create any variable inside a constructor, by default it's a instance variable, right? Instance variable, right? So now with the help of this constructor, we can create the different parameters and we can initialize with the help of constructor. Now in this case, I don't need this many lines. Now I can directly say. Now when creating the object, I told that this parenthesis, okay, used to call the constructor. Okay, so when I use this house, now by default, when you create one object, by default, the constructor will be called and initialized with the values which is mentioned in this particular parenthesis. Right. So I can say house. First, I'll write red color. Next, name is some John name. Okay. The same way, second color I'll write blue color. Okay. So I'll write, okay, some name. Okay, it may be anything. Right. So now it becomes more effective, right? Effective, right? So I can create one house object. I'm going to directly going to initialize with the values, right? So I can color is equal. Now it is taken as color is equal to red and owner is equal to John. Now this is placed in the variable of class variable color and owner. So when I write h1 dot color, you'll get the color, and also I'll write h2 dot owner. Okay, right. So now we can access the same data with the help of constructor.